Have you ever walked into an old house and felt time stand still? Architectural remnants aren't just brick and mortar, they are silent witnesses to the past. From the cozy conversation pits of the 70s to the early morning milk doors, every detail whispers a story of how we once lived, loved, and dreamed. Join us as we dust off these memories and step into a journey to rediscover the fragments of old souls lingering in the creases of our homes. 1. Boot scrapers. If you look down before entering a Victorian townhouse or a pre-war country estate, you will likely find a strange, rusted piece of cast iron anchored into the stone step. This is the boot scraper, a relic from a time when the boundary between the civilized home and the chaotic street was defined by mud. In the 19th century, before paved roads were common, streets were a slurry of dirt, rain, and horse manure. The boot scraper was not merely a tool for hygiene, it was a necessary ritual of transition. Using the scraper was a way of declaring that you were leaving the filth of the industrial world outside to preserve the sanctity of the parlor inside. It represents a daily battle against the elements, a physical reminder of how close our ancestors lived to the raw earth. Today, they stand as silent, iron sentinels, rusted by time, reminding us of an era when keeping a floor clean required a literal blade at the front door. 2. Sunken living rooms, conversation pits. Step into the mid-century home, and the floor suddenly drops away beneath your feet into a plush, carpeted basin. This is the sunken living room, or conversation pit, a daring architectural experiment in social intimacy. Popularized in the 1960s and 70s, these recessed areas were designed to create a psychological womb within the open-plan house. By lowering the seating area, architects manipulated the sightlines, ensuring that everyone seated was at the exact same eye level, creating a sense of profound equality and closeness. It was a design choice that prioritized human connection over convenience. In an era before smartphones fragmented our attention, the conversation pit forced people to look at one another, to engage in debate, and to share a communal space that felt protected from the rest of the world. Though many were filled in during the 1990s to make room for large televisions, the conversation pit remains a symbol of a time when the ultimate form of home entertainment was simply talking to your friends. 3. Tiki bars. Descend into the basement of a suburban home from the post-war era, and you might stumble upon a bamboo-wrapped fantasy, the home tiki bar. This wasn't just a place to store liquor, it was a theater of escapism. After World War II, returning soldiers and a fascinated public became obsessed with a romanticized vision of the South Pacific. The tiki bar allowed the buttoned-up, grey flannel suit father to shed his corporate identity and become an island explorer within the safety of his own home. Adorned with dried pufferfish, ceramic mugs shaped like angry gods, and coloured mood lighting, these bars were portals to another world. They represent a specific kind of American dreaming, where the monotony of the suburbs could be cured with a Mai Tai and a Martin Denny record. It was a space dedicated to the exotic, a physical manifestation of the desire to be anywhere but the snowy streets of the neighborhood, proving that a home is built to house our fantasies as much as our bodies. 4. Popcorn ceilings. Look up in almost any home built between the 1950s and the 1980s, and you will see the bumpy, white texture known as the popcorn ceiling. Today, we view it with disdain, often scraping it away during renovations to achieve a smooth, modern finish. However, this texture, also known as an acoustic ceiling, was a functional hero of its time. In the booming housing market of the mid-century, speed was essential, and this spray-on texture allowed builders to hide imperfections in the drywall without days of sanding and painting. More importantly, it served a vital purpose in the noisy, bustling households of the baby boom generation. It dampened sound. The texture broke up sound waves, reducing the echo of televisions, shouting children, and clattering dishes. While it is now a nightmare to clean and often associated with asbestos, the popcorn ceiling represents a pragmatic era of construction where function, speed, and acoustic comfort were valued far above aesthetic perfection. 5. Dumb waiters. Hidden within the walls of multi-story homes, a small wooden box rides on a system of ropes and pulleys. The dumb waiter, so named because it was a servant that could not speak, was the mechanical artery of the household. It connected the heat and noise of the basement kitchen to the refined atmosphere of the dining room above. This simple elevator for food and dishes allowed for a seamless dining experience where meals appeared as if by magic and dirty plates vanished just as quickly. The dumb waiter is a fascinating relic of domestic labor and class structure. It was designed to make the work of the household invisible, separating the sweat of preparation from the leisure of consumption. Finding one today, often with its ropes cut or the shaft sealed, is like finding a fossil of the old social order. It reminds us of a time when the smooth operation of a home relied on hidden mechanisms and the silent, unseen effort of those working behind the scenes. 6. Hidden safes. In the master study or behind a heavy oil painting in the library, you might find a secret that speaks to the anxieties of the past, the hidden wall safe. Unlike the digital passwords and cloud encryption we rely on today, the early 20th century approach to security was entirely physical. Following the Great Depression, mistrust in banks was high, and the home became the primary vault for a family's legacy. These safes were ingeniously concealed behind false panels, wainscoting, or artwork, turning the architecture itself into a treasure chest. They held more than just cash and jewelry. They were the repositories of family secrets, birth certificates, wills, love letters, and perhaps a bottle of good whiskey during Prohibition. The presence of a hidden safe implies a world where privacy was tangible and where protecting one's assets required a physical fortress. It adds a layer of mystery to the home, suggesting that behind the wallpaper there are stories and valuables that were never meant to be found by strangers. 7. Servant stairs and floor buttons. While the family ascended the grand velvet-carpeted main staircase under the glow of chandeliers, the household staff moved through the home like ghosts on the servant stairs. These narrow, steep, and unadorned staircases were tucked away behind unassuming doors, designed to allow maids and butlers to move linens, coal and hot water between floors without ever being seen. They are the architectural evidence of a rigid class hierarchy that lived under one roof. Complementing these stairs were the floor buttons found in the dining room. Often concealed beneath the rug at the head of the table, these small brass buzzers allowed the host to summon the next course with a subtle tap of the foot. These mechanisms were designed to maintain the illusion of effortless luxury, ensuring that the labor required to run the house remained completely invisible. They remind us that the elegance of the past was often built on a foundation of strict segregation and silent service. 8. Novelty phones. Remember when answering the phone was an event? In the 70s and 80s, the novelty phone turned a utility into a personality trait. Before everyone carried a black glass slab, our nightstands featured translucent cash and gold neon phones, Mickey Mouse pointing at the numbers, or the iconic hamburger phone made famous again by Juno. These weren't just devices, they were conversation pieces, ironic, considering they were the conversation itself. Whether it was a sleek cricketer flip-up or a giant sports car that beeped when someone called, these gadgets represented a pre-digital era of tactile fun. The tangled, coiled cords meant you were anchored to one spot, twisting the plastic wire around your finger while you gossiped for hours. 9. Goose decor. If you stepped into an American kitchen in the late 1980s, you were inevitably being watched by a goose. The country chic movement brought an obsession with the blue ribbon goose, usually depicted wearing a dainty fabric bonnet or a polka dot bow. From ceramic cookie jars to embroidered dish towels, these stoic birds were the undisputed mascots of the suburban home, the ultimate status symbol. The concrete porch goose. Originally a lawn ornament, it evolved into a seasonal fashion model, with homeowners buying miniature wardrobes so the goose could wear a raincoat in April or a Santa hat in December. It was a wholesome, slightly eccentric slice of Americana that captured a collective longing for a cozy pastoral lifestyle, even if you lived deep in the suburbs. 10. Skylight blinds. High above the floor, the mid-century skylight offered a connection to the heavens, but it also brought the intense heat of the sun. The solution was the manual skylight blind, a feature that demanded physical engagement with the house. Unlike the motorized, remote-controlled shades of today, these blinds were operated by a long cord and pulley system. There was a distinct, tactile pleasure in pulling the cord and hearing the blinds ratchet across the glass, instantly transforming a glare-filled room into a cool, shadowed sanctuary. This mechanism speaks to a time when controlling one's environment was a manual, deliberate act. It required the resident to be in tune with the time of day and the angle of the sun. The skylight blind was not just a window covering. It was a tool for managing the rhythm of the day, a physical interaction that grounded the dweller in the reality of the weather outside, rather than isolating them from it. We have traded the conversation pit for the home theater and the milk door for the delivery app. Our homes are undeniably smarter and more efficient now, but perhaps they are also a little quieter. These architectural ghosts aren't just obsolete features, they are the fingerprints of the generations that came before us, reminding us that a home is more than an asset. It is a stage for our lives. So, the next time you walk through an older neighborhood, look closely for the iron blade by the door or the hatch in the wall. Which of these forgotten features would you bring back today? Share your favorite architectural memory in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe as we continue to unlock the history hidden in plain sight.